The Bucs finally lose a game, Fitzmagic does a disappearing act, and now Jameis is back in, hungry for some W's. We'll cover all of this as we catch you up on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers right now. Welcome back to the Play Reaction. I'm Corey Draper, and this is the place on YouTube to catch up on everything happening with the Bucs. It's a short week, so I'm under a huge time crunch to get this video out, and I don't want to waste too much time. So we'll get this out of the way quickly. Subscribe, follow, Patreon, SeatGeek promo code PlayReaction for 20 bucks off your first ticket purchase. Let's talk about Monday. The Bucs, who are notoriously bad in primetime, squared off against the Steelers, who are notoriously great in primetime. Guess that should have been a clue. Anyway, the game started off well enough. The Bucs jumped out to an early lead thanks to a pick from Justin Evans, followed by a great drive by the offense that was capped off with a touchdown throw from Ryan Fitzpatrick to Cam Brate. Hey, they both went to Harvard. But then things started to unravel. It began with Chris Conte getting stiff-armed into the quantum realm by Vance McDonald, who then proceeded to take the ball into the end zone for a 75-yard touchdown. Then in the second quarter, Chris Godwin has a very unfortunate fumble, which leads to another Pittsburgh TD. As the Bucs drive the field after that and get into the red zone, the ball gets tipped at the line and falls into a Steelers' hands. And that's when things got ugly. Fitz throws another horrible pick on the very next drive. The defense does their job and holds the Steelers, but then Fitz throws another pick which Pittsburgh takes into the end zone. Quite the meltdown. The Bucs salvaged some points thanks to this huge throw and catch from Fitz to Mike Evans, but they could not punch it in from the 3-yard line and had to settle for a field goal, thanks in large part to Chris Godwin dropping a potential touchdown catch. But the half wasn't over, and the Steelers marched down the field with no pressure from the defense and easily score, making it 30-10 at halftime. At this point, it seemed like the Bucs were just gonna bend over and take it. But a trend we've been seeing lately is that halftime adjustments, both on offense and defense, have been huge for Tampa, which has resulted in solid third quarters. Sure enough, the defense didn't allow another point for the rest of the game, and the offense fought their way back. But oh man, was it a fight. A fight against our old friend Murphy. For those who didn't see my recap of the 2017 season, I titled it The Year of Murphy's Law because it seemed like in every game, whatever could go wrong, went wrong, and the Bucs would just come up short. This became one of those classic 2017 Murphy's Law kind of moments. Chris Godwin had this amazing catch and the awareness to know that he wasn't touched by a Steelers defender, and got up and ran for a touchdown. This was a huge turning point and momentum swing. Until, on further review, Godwin's foot grazed a Steeler on the way down, and though no defenders made any effort to tackle him, that counted as a tackle. This drive concluded with another drop touchdown by Godwin and the Bucs settling for a field goal. Murphy. In spite of Murphy, the Steelers, and referees who seem to really want some FaceTime on national TV, the Bucs climbed back into the game and were only down by 3 points with 3 minutes left in the game. All they needed was a field goal to tie with plenty of time left on the clock and 2 timeouts. And then Fitz loses his magic yet again. They go 3 and out and Fitz almost throws a couple of picks to boot. The Bucs are forced to punt and never get the ball back thanks to the defense suddenly being unable to get to Big Ben or stop the run, even when they knew the run was coming. Bucs lose. But chin up, folks. Here's what was awesome about the game. We'll start with the obvious and say that this team never quit, even though they played some real sloppy football in the second quarter. While Fitzpatrick had his worst game of the year, he almost led this team to a great comeback. We saw it last year. These guys do not give up, no matter what, which is a change from previous head coach regimes. Also, our pass catchers present huge mismatches, and while there were drops, they all showed that they're among the best in the league. Another thing that was awesome was seeing this team get 3 sacks in a game, 2 of which came from JPP. This line isn't at full strength, and it was encouraging to see them get to the QB and stop the run too. Mostly. While we're on defense, our young DB shined on Monday. Justin Evans had an awesome interception, once again showing us he's a ball hawk. And Carlton Davis looked better out there than veteran Brent Grimes. He's come a long way since the first game, and that's very encouraging. Now here's what's not so awesome about this game. The white unicorn, Chris Conte, was just put on IR after getting embarrassed by Vance McDonald. It came out later that he had been playing on a torn PCL. Speaking of the secondary, Brent Grimes' return was not good. He looked rusty, missed timed jumps, and missed tackles throughout the game. Hopefully he can get back to form quickly. While I commended the 3 sacks earlier, it's worth noting that there could have and should have been more. The ticky-tack officiating took away a couple, and then in what should have been the most clutch sack of the game, Gerald McCoy could not take down Big been when it mattered the most. Had he done that, the Bucs offense might have had one more shot at the end. And then there's the ever-invisible run game. This one could be chalked up to game script, as Peyton Barber had some very solid runs early on, but once the bottom fell out and the Bucs had to play catch-up, the rush was mostly abandoned. The more troubling part is that there really isn't anyone behind him to help carry the load. Jacquizz Rodgers went nowhere with his carries, and Sean Wilson hasn't shown enough to make me confident if Barber ever went down. If only Rojo could get his act together. Okay, enough of the past. Let's look ahead to our next game. The 2-1 Bucs go up to Chicago to take on the 2-1 Bears. They have the same record, but they are far from being similar teams. The Bears have a second-year QB in Mitch Trubisky, who has so far been solid but inconsistent. He isn't exactly the strength of their offense. Chicago has tried to help him out by giving him Allen Robinson and Taylor Gabriel as weapons to throw to, but it hasn't really resulted in much improvement for Trubisky. There's even talk of head coach Matt Nagy pulling back or reducing his offense to make it simpler. Not a good sign. The guys to worry about on offense are running backs Jordan Howard and Tarik Cohen. Together, those guys pack a potentially dangerous 1-2 punch both on the ground and in catching passes. If the Bucs can stop the run and force Trubisky to beat them through the air, it could produce great results. Really, the big concern about playing the Bears is their defense. They were already a solid unit before John Gruden and the Raiders traded All-Pro Khalil Mack to Chicago. Now they are easily a top 5 defense and are a nightmare for offensive linemen. Mack already has 4 sacks, 3 forced fumbles, and 1 interception. Thanks, coach. As we saw from the Steelers game, if Fitz doesn't have protection, he starts to get happy feet and then makes mistakes. Assuming Fitz starts. We'll get back to that in a sec. The Bucs have a great chance to win on Sunday as long as the QB stays upright and the offense keeps flying. The Bears almost lost to a horrible Arizona Cardinals team last week. I think Tampa Bay has a great shot if they don't shoot themselves in the foot, which may be asking a lot. Some other information that relates to the Bucs this week is that Jameis Winston is back from his suspension. Naturally, the question on everyone's mind is whether he will start this week. Dirk Koetter said this in his press conference when he was asked.
You know, we know what we're going to do. Both guys know what we're going to do. Hope everybody can appreciate that, you know, it doesn't do us any good to tell our opponents what we're going to do. So, you know, that'll work itself out here as the week goes on. But, you know, we do have a plan, and both guys are aware of it.
Dang it, Dirk. So we won't know unless the team announces it or someone leaks it. What I will say is this, based on the press conference with Jameis, as well as who has been taking the most snaps in practice, signs are pointing to Fitzmagic getting another start this week. Regardless of which side you're on in this argument, one thing needs to be clear. The short week excuse is ridiculous. Some people, including Booger McFarland on Monday Night Football, say that Jameis shouldn't start right away because it's a short week and that he needs to get in football shape. Clearly, Booger hasn't been seeing the updates on social media and reports about how Jameis has been simulating NFL practices, doing two-a-days, and throwing to retired NFL receivers like former Buck Louis Murphy. Also, if you think he isn't working out, studying film, and tirelessly working to make sure he's prepared for his return, then you know absolutely nothing about Jameis Winston. He loves football too much. Rest assured, whenever Jameis is put back in the game, he will be ready. And I personally think he'll shock a lot of people. Okay guys, that's it for me. Remember to subscribe, follow, donate, and get your $20 off at SeatGeek. Go Bucs.